plane to motor west. Drive my way, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to LA. More than 2,000 miles all the way. Get your kicks on Route 66. Now you go through St. Louis and Joplin, Missouri, and Oklahoma City's looking mighty pretty.
And there lies the problem. Each year, hundreds of foreigners travel Route 66 from Chicago to Santa Monica, and the majority of them are bypassing Tulsa via Interstate 44.
People are still bypassing Tulsa.
Come down from Chicago to Springfield, Illinois, to St. Louis, and then down to Springfield, Missouri, and we set out from there this morning, going to Oklahoma City. Finish up the end of the day there.
They get on Skelly Drive, they get on the frontage road at the casino, and they get back on the mother road at Sapulpa. They don't come through here.
Thanks so much, everybody, for coming out.
To try and solve the problem, Tulsa City Councilor Blake Ewing formed the Route 66 Task Force. Over 100 people attended the first meeting. It was the largest task force the city has ever formed. Gary Percival is the co-chair of the Community Relations Committee.
We get a lot of anecdotal information that people that do these trips and come across the country will come right around Tulsa on the interstate. If you've ever gotten on old Route 66 and approached Tulsa from Sapulpa, it just pushes you automatically on I-44. I mean, you have to know that there are a couple of places where you have to get off the interstate and reconnect with Route 66. The same thing happens when you're coming in from the east. You come by the Blue Whale, you're coming through Catoosa, and all of a sudden you're on I-44 again. Unless you know where to get off and go and get on Admiral or 11th, get up on 11th Street. So what we are learning is that there are a lot of these tourists that are doing this drive down the old route, and when they get to Tulsa, they just end up skipping right to the other side and reconnecting with the route.
Katie Plohocki, chairman of the Business Relations Committee, shares similar thoughts.
It's amazing how many people from Europe come over, and they start at Chicago and they go all the way to California. And the typical track is to get off at the Blue Whale in Catoosa, bypass Tulsa, and get back off in Sapulpa and follow the rest of the route down.
I've been told you can make about 200 miles a day to really, kind of take in the experience. So if you look at that 2,400-mile stretch, you're looking at 12, 13 days to kind of make the whole trip. So if you're going to do that, you got to kind of plan your trip, choose where your destination points are going to be, where are you going to spend the night. And so we started a discussion of what makes Tulsa the place that you want to choose to spend the night instead of Joplin or Springfield, Missouri, or Oklahoma City or Amarillo. I mean, we've got to kind of carve out our niche here. The truth of the matter is Tulsa's the birthplace of Route 66. The guy that put it all together and the granddaddy of the whole thing, that had the vision, that had the passion and advocated, was Cyrus Avery from Tulsa. And Cyrus Avery had been a county commissioner in Tulsa and operated a fuel stop and out in a hostelry, a hotel out on the east side of town. And I think he wanted to make sure that Route 66 came by his place and came across the Arkansas River at Tulsa. There was a bridge here.
Another problem that exists is which way do you take the mother road through Tulsa? Here at 11 Domingo, travelers have a decision to make. Do they go down the original route on Admiral Boulevard, or do they stay on 11th Street? It became the route in 1932. Let's get started by getting our kicks on Route 66 down Admiral Boulevard.
I think there's probably a lot of people in Tulsa, in Tulsa, but also elsewise, that don't realize there was an alternate or an original route that the Route 66 came through Tulsa, they think of 11th Street only. So it's kind of an opportunity to educate people.
In 1926, Tulsa got its first taste of the Mother Road. Tulsa had a unique feature that made it ideal for cross-country travel.
1926, it came through, and Tulsa benefited greatly from it. Now, the route really benefited as well from Tulsa being available, and the chairman of the Federal Highway Commission, Cyrus Avery, was a Tulsan. He owned property here. But Tulsa had something that no other community had in the mid-20s. We already had a completed bridge across the Arkansas River. And at some point in time, they were going to have to cross that river, so Tulsa was a natural stopping point.
This bridge was literally the key to the path that our nation took to find its dreams, to find the end of the rainbow, to do what they felt was in the best interest of their family, of their country. To go west, to go east, to look for new places to go and new adventures.
In those days, Admiral Boulevard was T-Town's main artery, carrying life into the growing metropolis. It seemed only fitting that as the Mother Road crawled into the city, that she head towards the bright lights of Admiral Boulevard. Originally, 66 ran along Admiral, then made its way down to 2nd Street, until the city decided to expand. After the expansion, Admiral turned into a ghost town. The foot traffic stopped and businesses closed, which left Admiral out of the loop. But even now, the road is seeking to rekindle into this forgotten part of town with businesses like Circle Cinema, Hank's Hamburgers, and Ann's Bakery that call Admiral home. Whittier Square is now the beating heart of where old meets new.
Whittier Square, which is what we're standing in right now, is the oldest suburban shopping district in Tulsa. Even though we're only about 2.5 miles east of downtown, this was considered the suburbs. And the community was founded, really, there was a trolley line that left downtown, came down 1st Street and came to Lewis and went south, and then headed on to TU starting in 1909. Then in 1926, the Federal Highway Commission declared Route 66. They created the road from Chicago to Los Angeles, and part of it came right through Whittier Square. It came in on Admiral Boulevard, turned south on Lewis for a block, and then headed into downtown.
The road not only brought travelers, but also brought store owners that were eager to entertain a growing city. The Circle Cinema has entertained travelers for some 85 years and has been a Route 66 icon.
Well, Circle Cinema opened originally in 1928, and it was the first suburban movie theater outside of the downtown area. Downtown is where they had all the big movie palaces, and everybody went downtown to see movies, shop, eat. Everything was centered there in that era. So this area where Circle Cinema is located was Whittier Square. And it was kind of the suburban shopping area that people kind of gravitated to, that didn't want to go downtown. So not only did we expect that the Circle attracted the people that lived in this neighborhood or who didn't want to go downtown to see movies, but also perhaps travelers that were passing through and just wanted to stop, maybe eat at a local restaurant, see a movie.
Few things are more nostalgic than having a hamburger on the open road. Hank's Hamburgers has been serving up Route 66 fried favorites since 1949. Hank's current owner, Dennis Feltz, has been serving weary travelers since 2003. He's seen a wide variety of travelers, but one traveler, he will never be forgotten.
You want to know if we had beer? So no, we don't serve beer here. This is a Christian run place, we don't serve beer. And so my wife's telling me what we had, and she said root beer. He said, that's what I want. He said, run over and talk to his wife, ate a burger, and got drunk on root beer. He hardly could walk out the door. Blowing his mind, and I laughed, I had tears coming down the side of my face. And she put him on the passenger side, and she drove.
Route 66 would be just another stretch of asphalt and highway without the travelers who annually make the trek cross-country. Many people know Route 66 travels from east to west, but during its journey through the streets of Tulsa, it leaves many Tulsans and travelers asking,
Where is Route 66?
Unfortunately, signage is a big problem. There aren't enough of them. Sure, there are signs like these, but they're not really noticeable and they're really hard to see when you're driving by.
Just some little things that we could do that could really help. I think part of our problem is signage. Nobody knows really where the route is. You know, we have Route 66 signs every once in a while, but it doesn't direct anybody. So especially when we have two different routes coming into Tulsa, going back out, people aren't sure where to turn or where to go. And you know, it's be simple as putting stamps on the road itself.
The lack of signage can be confusing for Route 66 travelers. Many bypass historical landmarks and places of interest simply because they're not marked.
There's this sign. You're easy to get lost.
Tourists from all over the world come to America just to travel this famous highway.
We've tried to figure out, you know, what is it about Route 66 that could be an attraction in Tulsa. So we've done some work trying to figure out, well, what are the things that people would come to Tulsa for? What would make Tulsa a destination place for travelers? We've tried to kind of think about, well, what's the profile of the people that we want to come to Tulsa? And, you know, we have a lot of information that there are foreigners, Europeans, and Asian folks that want to, you know, get a slice of the American experience, and they choose Route 66 as that kind of vacation destination that'll let them see a lot of Americana.
The Circle Theater, for instance, they'll get travelers that stop in from Germany or England or Denmark. They'll come and stop by because they're traveling Route 66 all the way from Chicago to Los Angeles. So it's been a big deal to bring commerce and tourism.
I've had several conversations with people. One man I remember was from England, and he was driving Route 66. That was his vacation for the year. He flew over, rented a car, and was driving Route 66.
The one thing that Admiral and 2nd Street have in common are the buildings. Whether abandoned or in use, there's this style from Art Deco through the 60s that is so appealing. Red brick buildings and weird-looking glass bricks for windows.
At one point in time, over 100 businesses located within a 2-block radius of where we're standing today. Well, I think that what you see right now are a few vacant storefronts, a few businesses that maybe aren't doing as well as they did in their heyday.
Some of the vacant buildings, you know, they maybe have some historical significance to them. It's very difficult to refurbish them because of the historical parameters that you might be able to get through some tax credits, which is also a very difficult application process for the layperson. Some of the permitting requirements to make them historical don't meet up with our current zoning uses now today. So there's some butting of heads.
Turning a lump of nothing into something spectacular is a local artist living on the historic Mother Road's sister. Her studio sits within throwing distance of 66 and is on the National Historical Registry.
Well, I'm a clay artist. I like to play in clay, and this is my studio. I just happen to be fortunate enough to have a studio that is on the National Historical Register, and that was also the Phillips Petroleum station here on Admiral Boulevard, and it is number 473 on the Historical Register.
Tina joins many artists who call the boulevard home.
You know, we really love Admiral because it could be really funky and organic, and that's one thing that we're very aware of in business development is we don't want to tell people what to do. We want people to have the opportunity to be funky and to grow organically and just kind of let it happen, because that's what happened back in the day. They were competing with each other for business, and so the more extravagant and the more funky they got, the more interest they got.
You know, initially attracted me to the boulevard was the building, to be quite honest. And there's a lot of history here. I love old brick buildings. I love the way Tulsa's Art Deco scene is. And I really enjoy the history that's in this area. I get a lot of people that want to just stop in and look at the building, and from that aspect alone, I get a lot of customers. That's a walk-in business for me, you know, and that's that's hard to come by as an artist, especially an artist who works out of your own studio.
For the struggling businesses along the historic road, many are asking why the city isn't doing more.
I don't think Tulsa is really capitalizing as much as it can, and I've seen some growth and some kind of resurgence of interest in that. So I think as we continue to see that and more businesses kind of hop on board the promotion of Route 66 and we get some additional involvement from various organizations and city entities and such, I think we'll see more interest there.
And just help the businesses along the way, either refurbish, open, how can we help your business, and, through marketing, maybe start a business association. Our thought for this fall is to put together a kind of a business summit for people who are on the route or people who are interested in maybe locating on the route.
The Circle Cinema took matters into their own hands and sought funding from a national resource to fuel its refurbishment process.
The National Park Service has a grant program called I think it's a Route 66 Preservation Grant, and they look for ways to use those funds to help enhance the businesses or structures along Route 66. And it's a program where you apply for the grant. You have to be on Route 66, and it has to be for a part of your structure that's visible from Route 66. So our front facade of the original theater, it was one of our projects that we were working on with our capital campaign and our fundraising. So we applied for the grant. It's a matching grant program. You have to have the local funds to match the funding that the National Park Service gives. So we were able to apply and were successful and were awarded a grant from them. So they are providing some funds to help with that kind of redoing of our facade, which we are making look retro to about its appearance in 1952.
It seems like everyone we talk to has a vision for this often forgotten stretch of Route 66.
And I think that what we're going to see is a bit of a turnover in the commercial offerings here. We've added 3 new businesses in the past 6 months, and we're getting ready to see more stores come in over the next 6 months as well. So I think what we're going to find is that in a year it's going to be completely different, and it's going to become closer to a walkable district with kind of a concentration of shops that people want to visit.
I think it will be a pretty bustling area. Right now we're the only entity open on our block between Admiral Boulevard and 1st Street. There's so much potential there, and there's a lot of interest. I know the Kendall Whittier Main Street program has really kind of opened a lot of doors, and we're seeing some artists and other creatives that are looking at this area as kind of a new place to move to operate in and to kind of populate.
In 10 years, I'd like to see artists here. I would like to see a lot of studio apartment areas where their ground level, let's say, would be a retail section. Above would be an area for the artist to live. I believe there's a great history in art right here on this corner, and I see it developing. It's been developing for the last 10 years, and I know it's going to continue to develop.
10 years from today, I would say my vision would be like what the Brady District was this last weekend. People eating and shopping and walking and socializing and enjoying themselves. People making a good wage so they can keep their shops open.
From Admiral, the route twists through downtown. It takes its turns through residential areas and even down one-way streets before reconnecting with the more famous Mother Road. In 1932, city leaders decided a more direct route through Tulsa would be beneficial to travelers. So the route was moved due west down 11th Street towards the Arkansas River.
how do we attract that person and get them to make Tulsa an overnight stay as opposed to, well, we're just going to drive through and see as much of it as we can in the 30 or 45 minutes we're in Tulsa.
There are a few hotels on 11th Street that have the old Route 66 style, but no one seems to be staying in them. Brookshire Motel, Oasis Motel, and the Desert Inn are all trying to capitalize on that old Route 66 motor inn look, and occasionally, tourists stop to take pictures. If you stop at one, though, you won't see very many cars. You may, however, see some of the old Route 66 crazies. Several businesses along 11th Street share their experiences and opinions about Route 66. James Willis from Freddy's Hamburgers, located on 11th and Memorial, mentions the forgotten east side of Route 66. This area once flourished with a large skating rink and other businesses, but has recently suffered. Hopefully, better times are coming to the east side of Tulsa's Route 66.
I consider this to be more of the forgotten Route 66 because there's not a lot of people that come out this way. We need to get a lot more business out here. We've got good burgers, we got good used cars places, we got hotels, a lot of places that a lot of people are forgetting about. We get visitors from all over the country that come in here. As far as California, Florida, New York, Venezuela. I've had people come in from Panama City, all over South America, Canada, Europe. I've had Italian people come in here.
Another Route 66 hotspot is Tally's Restaurant at 11th and Yale, where the owner, Tally, is more than happy to welcome tourists.
No more stuff, people come and talk to me about Route 66, and that's why I start changing the look of this diner, because when I first got it, there was nothing, it was just hole in the wall, and it has a straw wallpapers, didn't have any neon, anything at all. But I realized I am on the historic Route 66, so I better do something about it, and that's why I changed the whole look. Oh, the first thing that walked in the diner, I thought, wow, this is really old. And the first thing they asked me, how old is this building? So I have to give them a little history about it. And then the next question will be, is this really the old Route 66? I said, yeah, this is the old highway right here. You're right at it. And then they go outside and start taking pictures, and they look around, of course, hamburgers, french fries, and shakes, and it goes all with that.
The Campbell Hotel is one of the oldest landmarks on Tulsa's Route 66. This building, located just west of 11th and Delaware, has finally returned to its original purpose as a hotel.
It was built by Max Campbell in 1927. There's 26 rooms, but originally it was opened as the Casa Loma Hotel back in 1927, and it stayed as the Casa Loma until 1970, believe it or not. So then it closed and became Wilkerson Chevrolet, and then it became, I think there was a Safeway here where Maxwell's is going in, and then there was like a Burkhart's Furniture, and a barber shop was our lobby. So the building has gone through a lot of changes. That the owners decided to buy the building, save it, and renovate it, and brought it back to a hotel. So now it's called Max Campbell in honor of the gentleman that built it back in the 20s. Route 66 is so popular around the world, and we get a lot of people that will just come from all over the world to explore Route 66. And there's not a lot of nice hotels like this one on Route 66. So it's nice that they find us and come and enjoy. And we have a lot of literature on Route 66 in our lobby, so tourists that come in, they like to go and discover it.
El Rancho Grande is Tulsa's oldest restaurant on Route 66. The current location at 11th and Utica has served customers since 1953. The original location was at 7th and Boulder in 1950. John Walden's family has owned it since 1984 and says the restaurant gets visitors on Route 66 all the time.
We have pretty regular visitors that have come through driving the route. Almost weekly, we have someone that, taking a picture of the sign's original, or coming in to eat, saying, well, this is our summer vacation, our summer trip, is driving Route 66. Several years ago, during the 80th anniversary of Route 66, there were, I believe they were Norwegians. They shipped classic cars over to Chicago, drove the route to Anaheim, put them on a boat, and shipped their cars back to.
But we have the old Home Depot and that old building that sits out there, and I think we might have some good news that there may be a new owner.
Ed Sittler, one of the business owners in the old warehouse market building, makes an invitation to other investors to join in the movement to revitalize Tulsa's Route 66.
It doesn't have to be a retail business. It can be anything on Route 66. We'd invite you guys to come down here and help us and others in our community revitalize the district. It's as you can see, a happening place. There's plenty of cars going by every day, and it's easy access on and off the highways and close to downtown. So do us a favor, come down, spend your time and your money, and build up Route 66. Let's get in on part of the movement that's making the country come back to the center again.
It was a warehouse market way back in the day, and I'm excited that something really cool will be coming down the pipeline for that. Can't talk about it though.
Downtown Tulsa features some of the most interesting architecture along Tulsa's Route 66. Cathedral Square is home to the First Church of Christ Scientist, the First United Methodist Church, and the First Christian Church. Boston Avenue United Methodist Church and Holy Family Cathedral beckon travelers from just 2 blocks either direction of Route 66. Travelers can spend quite a bit of time studying the architecture alone. The route through West Tulsa is equally hard to find. Route 66 out of Sapulpa drops you right onto Interstate 44. If you're able to locate Southwest Boulevard, you will find yourself back on the Mother Road. One of the first sites you'll find on Southwest Boulevard is Red Fork.
We're here in Red Fork. This is the site of early Tulsa history. It was originally built as a railroad town around 1884 and then annexed onto Tulsa in 1928.
We have over here, across from where we're sitting today, the remnants of Red Fork. It is still a lively area, residential area, with some commercial and other businesses along the edge where the railroad runs and where Southwest Boulevard was located as the access road between Tulsa and Sapulpa when the rails were built, and then later incorporated into the roadways assembled into the first national highway system as part of Route 66.
There are many unique and interesting places along America's Main Street, but there's one in Tulsa's Red Fork that holds a rich part of history.
Crystal City was actually an amusement park for decades, from the 20s up through the 50s.
The Electric Amusement Park was built in Red Fork in 1921. The park was sold in the mid-1920s when it was renamed Crystal City. Crystal City had many attractions to offer locals and travelers: boat rides, mechanical rides, restaurants, and lounge areas. The biggest attractions at Crystal City were its hopping dance hall, the Casa Loma, an oversized pool, and a large roller coaster called the Zingo. Crystal City was later revived and turned into a strip mall that once included a bowling alley and a skating rink. In recent years, the shopping center has seen an overall decline.
After I married and moved to a different part of town, I wasn't here often. I came back and was very surprised because the stores were gone.
Nowadays, Crystal City Shopping Center is just a spread out cluster of vacant businesses, accompanied by a few retail shops. By the looks of it, one would never guess that this area once served as a major attraction area for locals and travelers alike.
Just recently, some new owners took possession of that shopping center, and they have been meeting with folks. I've been in on a couple of meetings with them, but they really want to transform that shopping center and reuse it as some kind of a commercial and retail space, but they don't want to rebuild it. They want to use it as a throwback, as kind of an old school shopping center, and they're trying to figure out what sort of things could go in there.
This section of old downtown Red Fork, where Ollie's Station sits, is the site of some historical breakthroughs for this area. For example, the first post office in the Tulsa area was right here in 1894, about 13 years before Oklahoma's statehood.
Nowadays, Ollie's Station restaurant is a major point of interest on Tulsa's Route 66. Ollie's has a lovely mom and pop charm that brings all the comforts of home to Route 66. Traditional Southern style and Oklahoma style dishes are served by friendly faces. Ollie's is a Red Fork tradition and celebrates the heritage of its location by showcasing its model trains and vintage memorabilia. Most visitors look forward to watching the 10 model trains at Ollie's tracing the dining room and making their way through model towns.
Ollie's hometown atmosphere makes it the perfect stop on Route 66 to just relax and feel at home.
Right across the street from Ollie's is the Red Fork Art Gallery, which was opened in old downtown Red Fork by Mary Jo Lester in 2006.
The building was built in 1930, but the history of this particular stretch of land goes back much further. This was actually known as the site of the first oil well in Oklahoma Indian Territory.
Nowadays, it is the site of Red Fork's very first art gallery. Local artists showcase works that vary in medium and style. Many of them have captured the memories of old Red Fork and Tulsa locations along Route 66 that are long gone but not forgotten. Some have even captured the Route 66 spirit with paintings of classic American cars and highway signs along the Mother Road.
The Red Fork Art Gallery is open to anyone who would just like to drop in. It's a perfect place to pick up an authentic Route 66 souvenir or maybe just chat with some friendly locals.
I was in Germany a year and a half ago, and someone asked me about Route 66, and they were just totally impressed that at one time I lived right on Route 66, because it's a big deal overseas. I mean, they come to do Route 66, and I think it's great that everything's coming back, you know. So we'll just see what happens. But so far, so good.
The Red Fork Art Gallery and other new attractions along the route are promising signs of renovation along Tulsa's Route 66.
The historical qualities that exist in Tulsa's Red Fork make it an ultimate attraction for tourists traveling the Mother Road. Unfortunately, the stories and treasures of this place are hidden, and locals feel like more has to be done to highlight the historical qualities that exist here. This statue at 11th and Riverside is titled East Meets West. It not only features a key point in the history of Route 66, but it also serves as a geographical point where the Mother Road turns from north-south to a more east-west direction.
Robert Summers created the statue, and the Deep in the Heart Foundry cast its amazing detail. It is a cornerstone for the plaza, the bridge, and the skywalk.
This monumental 20,000-pound sculpture is built 135% of actual size. It's 40 feet long, 15 feet wide, 14 feet tall. It is the most recent addition to Tulsa's enhancement and promotion projects of the 23 miles of Route 66 that passes through the Tulsa city limits. Tulsa is home of Cyrus Avery, the father of Route 66. He made an impact on Tulsa and in Oklahoma. We call this the Centennial Plaza because it was built during the time that Oklahoma celebrated its 100th year as a state, our anniversary.
Most everyone that we talk to agrees that Route 66 through Tulsa has enormous potential, but what has to happen next?
I look forward to the day when we do what we did with the Woody Guthrie Center, and we do that for Route 66. I think it's just going to take our community finally turning our attention away from some other things that we've been focused on. You know, we've done some fabulous things in Brady and Blue Dome districts here. I just think we need to get a little bit better organized, and I think that there was an attempt in the early stages of this to say, let's let it be organic and just kind of self-form, and let's see where it goes. Well, it went really well for a while, but you know, at some point you got to start spending some money. You either got to publish something, print something, produce something, run an ad, or have an event, or do something, and that just requires resources. And there's a lot of potential here, and it's I won't say it's untapped, because Tulsa has done some things. You know, we've improved some intersections. We actually have a tip of the hat to Route 66 out there, so people come through town will see some of the intersection improvements that have happened. They'll see East meets West, the medical sign and how that's been relocated. That is really, really cool, particularly if you're in Tulsa overnight, you know, and you can take the whole thing in.
And a lot of us who live here don't always recognize how special Route 66 is, because we live here. We see it all the time. It's maybe not a part of our everyday. But the reality is that this is an international brand, the most famous stretch of road in the entire world, and 23 miles of it run through our town, thus making it, in my opinion, the #1 opportunity to attract tourism and visitors to the city of Tulsa.
Without Cyrus Avery, we would have no Route 66. And so it follows that without Tulsa, we would have no Route 66. This is the heart and soul of Route 66 country. This place, more than any other place on that 2,400-mile band of asphalt and concrete, that linear village, this is where Route 66 needs to be exposed the very most to the public, the traveling public, the hordes of travelers who are coming here day after day from Western Europe, from the Pacific Rim. So now we have, if I can use a Route 66 metaphor, this great big juicy cheeseburger right here. We've got a piping hot sourdough bun. We've got some crisp lettuce. We've got a slice of red onion. We have a big juicy piece of tomato. What's missing? The beef. And where does the beef go? It goes on that hill. That should not be a parking lot.
Ultimately, a Route 66 interpretive center is planned. Many officials think that could become the foremost destination along Route 66.
That has to be built, the Route 66 Interpretive Center, or none of this will work. And that's up to you folks.
We have a great opportunity here, ladies and gentlemen. It's right here at our doorstep. It's right here in our city. And it's here, part of our history. And all we have to do is talk about it, support it with good vision, with a little bit of tax money, and we can be ready for the hordes of people that will be here to buy, to wonder, and to talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, the home of the Mother Road.
If you ever plan to motor west, drive my way, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to LA, more than 2,000 miles all the way. Get your kicks on Route 66. Now you go through St. Louis and Joplin, Missouri, and Oklahoma City's looking mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget we wanna get members, Stone, San Bernardino, 1, 2. to this timely tip. When you make that California trip, get your kicks on Route 66.